Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez. In the quiet afternoons of memory, Alfredo Salazar often found himself returning to a park from 4 years ago, a time when love still burned brightly and without hesitation. There, under the shade of familiar trees, he had once looked at Esperanza with certainty. His words had been confident then, his promises easy. Love had seemed simple. But time, like distance, changes the shape of things. From the rose garden of their home, Carmen watched her brother through a window pane. Alfredo stood still, lost in thought, his presence heavy with something unspoken. She turned to their father, Don Julian, who was trimming roses with calm, practiced movements. "Papa?" Carmen asked quietly. "Kailan ba gaganapin ang pagising dibdib?" Don Julian did not look up. He admitted that no date had been fixed, though Esperanza wished for the wedding to happen the following month. Carmen wondered aloud why Alfredo, already 30, seemed so undecided. Was Esperanza not tired of waiting? Don Julian replied with a thoughtful sigh. "Long engagements," he said, "often cooled rather than warmed affection." The very length of waiting spoke of a certain calmness or perhaps indifference in both lovers. Carmen remembered how different Alfredo had once been. The flowers, the letters, the serenades. He had loved Esperanza fiercely then. What, she wondered, had changed? Don Julian called it Alfredo's final race with youth, a last Pasha, before settling into stillness. And perhaps that stillness was what Alfredo sought when, 6 weeks earlier, Don Julian persuaded him to visit Judge Del Valle's home. Alfredo had protested there was paperwork waiting, but his father insisted that good connections mattered to a young lawyer. That evening, a simple knock on the door altered the quiet direction of Alfredo's life. Julia opened the door. She greeted them warmly, her smile unforced, her presence gentle yet striking. Alfredo noticed her, at once not with the urgency of desire, but with a sudden awareness, as though something had quietly shifted inside him. Conversation flowed easily. Laughter followed. A small mistake in names became a shared joke, and with that laughter came comfort. From then, on Sunday mornings after Mass became routine visits, while Don Julian and Judge Del Valle played chess and drank beer. Alfredo and Julia sat on the porch, talking about youth, about mystery, about the quiet longings that never quite leave the heart. Weeks passed, and the attraction they tried not to name slowly revealed itself. Yet while Alfredo lingered in these afternoons, Esperanza waited. She waited by the church. She waited in silence. She waited with patience she believed love required. When Alfredo forgot to meet her after Mass, she excused him. When he grew distant, she understood, or tried to. But distance has a sound. It is heard in pauses, in evasive answers, in eyes that no longer rest where they should. Alfredo told himself he was only tired, only busy. Yet when he spoke with Julia, time seemed to expand. With her, the road felt narrow and full of mystery again. Their closeness deepened during a Sunday spent by the sea at Tanda. The air was warm, laughter floated around them, and yet Julia spoke of endings. She was going home for Holy Week. "Tomorrow," she said. This would be the last time. Alfredo felt the weight of old mistakes pressing against him. He spoke of baggage of obligations he could not abandon. They held hands, but Julia did not turn to face him. On Holy Thursday, fate gathered them all in one place. Esperanza entered the church, dignified and composed. Julia followed later. Alfredo saw them both end in that moment. His heart stood divided between what he had promised and what he desired. Julia congratulated him on his approaching wedding. She spoke calmly, kindly, as though nothing lay beneath her words. Alfredo asked if she would attend. She agreed. Then he asked her a question that revealed everything. Had she ever been forced to choose between what she wanted and what she had to do? Julia could not answer for him. That night, Esperanza confronted Alfredo. She spoke of honesty, of fairness, of his growing indifference. Alfredo spoke of conscience, of moral grayness, of fairness that injured no one. But love does not live in arguments. It lives in certainty, and that certainty was gone. Still, the wedding happened. 8 years passed. On a boat bound for Julia's hometown, Alfredo tried to convince himself that memory was harmless. He found her house. When Julia greeted him, he shook her hand, felt nothing, no fire, no ache, only quiet. They spoke politely, they smiled. And in that silence, Alfredo understood. The dream he had clung to for years had never been real. It was an illusion, shaped by longing and regret. Julia had been a possibility, not a destiny. What he had followed were dead stars' lights that still shine in the sky, though the stars themselves have long ceased to exist. And so he left, finally redeemed from the dream that had once ruled him, knowing that some loves are meant only to be remembered, not lived.